It's 7 a.m. in the morning and your phone has got 100 missed calls, your inbox is blown up, there's messages up the wazoo, and your social media has gone nuts. Something's gone horribly wrong. Welcome to the world of crisis communication. Over the next 25 minutes, we're going to have a look at ways that you can turn a mess into a message for your brand. Are you ready? Let's go. So we live in a hyper-connected world, and you would know this looking at LinkedIn. Anyone that you encounter is probably a second or maybe maximum third degree from you. There's nothing more than that. And that is a world with 8.5 billion people. It's absolutely crazy, okay? But because it's hyper-connected, messages move quickly and bad messages move the fastest. The saying is, by the time the horse is bolted out the door, you haven't got your trousers on. And that's incredibly true when the message is bad news. People love a story, right? When things go well, it takes a bit longer, sadly. So because things move quickly, we need a plan to win when things go wrong, because they always will go wrong, whether it's your fault or someone else's. So what do we do? So there's 5 C's, the 5 C's of crisis management. And we're going to look at them and see what we can do for you and what you can use in your comms. Now, these are pretty common sense. Many brands don't use it. They hide it behind corporate fluff. And we know how that makes us feel. So let's not do it, right? Because as I said, things will go wrong. The first thing we're going to look at is the idea of care or empathy. So when you encounter a story about your product, your service, something that's happened that's made someone feel bad or it's impacted on their life or something's gone horribly wrong for them, you need to say, hey, hold on, cool, we see you. I see you 100%. And I understand that this has made you feel terrible. This has had a real impact. It could be a tragedy. And I completely understand where you're coming from. I feel for you. I'm sorry. And I give you my commitment that we're going to do something about it. So the first thing is, you're just apologizing, right? Just saying, geez, I'm really sorry. That's horrible. And I see you. You're not saying it's your fault. You're saying, this thing's happened. Okay, I understand how you must feel about that. Because we don't want nonsense. We don't want corporate speak. Let's just be real, right? Just see me. Just see that I've got a problem. It may not be your fault. That's fine. But I'm feeling this way right now, okay? And then give a commitment. Say, I feel you. I see you. I understand. I'm truly sorry about this thing that's happened. My commitment to you, or our commitment as a brand, is within the next 2 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours, several weeks, we're going to investigate this and come back to you with our findings. Because that's saying, we don't know what happened, but our commitment is to doing this, to coming back with a solution and an understanding of what happened so it won't happen again, okay? And then when you've done that, now you've given your commitment to care, you've said you feel and you empathize, and then you've given a commitment to doing something, you then have time to do the third step, okay? And that's consistency. So consistency is about telling the same story no matter who's telling the story, right? If you go into a live feed and you're telling what happened, that should be the same story as went out in a press release. It should be the same story that everyone in the business says. The best way to tell the most consistent story, if you've ever found, is to tell the truth. So let's try and look at that and assume that that's the angle. But the truth is often difficult to understand and find sometimes. So take the time that you need to put together a consistent story, right? And if it's true, and if it's hard, and if it's horrible, that's okay, because people much prefer a consistent, honest message, I made a mistake, than corporate fluff and nonsense, because we know they don't really care, okay? And then once you've done that, whatever time period it's going to take, keep sending messages out and saying what you need to say and saying we're coming to a solution. Bring coherence to it. Explain the why, okay? Why doesn't mean throwing someone under the bus. Instead of saying the intern did it, a better way of saying it is we've got a new person that started in this position and they didn't know the protocol, which is our fault because we didn't give them the tools to understand the way that it should be done. So what we've done is we've implemented a checklist of things that we need to do to make sure that anyone new to this task knows how it should occur. It's not their fault, it's our system's fault. And on that particular day, the person that was dealing with it, if there was one, was sick, and that's means we need to find a way to make sure that that works, or we actually didn't have a process. Thank you so much for highlighting it. We're really sorry that it made you feel that way or something happened, okay? Whatever it is. And then make sure that you're clear in that message. Make it simple and make it concise and make it easy for people to understand. Cognitive dissonance is such a big thing in the world that what happens is there's so much going on that we want bite-sized chunks of information. If it takes you 25 minutes to say you're sorry, no one cares why. They just hear you wrong. Okay, so be consistent, be very specific, and be as concise as you possibly can. How does this work? Well, Samsung Galaxy, the Note 7 2016, started exploding pretty much in people's pockets. Not a good thing. So what Samsung did is they followed this process perfectly. They said, there's something wrong with our phones. Global press release. Guys, there's something wrong with the phone. Stop using them right now. We're not selling anymore, and we're recalling them immediately. If you're at the airport, go to the local shop in the airport. They'll replace it for you. If anywhere you are, take the phone and get rid of it. We'll give you a replacement right now. Done, okay? We don't know why, but we know this is happening. We're going to come back to you with a solution. Over the next months, they kept updating everyone. I think they did something like 200,000 phones that they went through and investigated, and the batteries and whatever. They didn't blame the manufacturer. They didn't blame anyone else. They went through it thoroughly, 200,000 phones. And eventually it worked out that it was something about the battery and the weld, or whatever that means. And it overheated and the things did whatever they did. Not a good look. But they were clear. They said they're really sorry. They acknowledged it. They recalled it immediately. They stopped it. They were being honest, right? They did something about it. It took a long time. They went through some serious processes, and they came back with the short explanation, and I'm sure a very long technical explanation for themselves and everybody else to know why it happened. And that won't happen again, right? They were very clear. That is standing by a brand and not saying it's someone else's fault. It's the battery manufacturer. It might have been. It doesn't matter. They owned it. I worked with a brand, a big retail outfit many years ago, and we were at a live event one morning, and we got a call saying, there's a bit of a problem. One of the stores somewhere else, quite far away, there's been a recording of them, of some of the employees that take out a hockey stick and they've beaten some cats to death. Like, no, they seriously, no, they haven't done that, okay. And it wasn't handled very well, but he said, we're really sorry. And what I would have said is, geez, beating anything to death, whether it's a cat or not, that's really, really hectic. And we understand how that must make you feel seeing that, especially if there's children around or whatever. And we're really sorry for your experience. Let us go and investigate and see exactly what happened, and we'll come back to you. It turns out it wasn't a cat, it was a rat. And this particular store had a rat infestation. And at some point, one or two of the store workers thought they were going to do a really good thing. They chased the rats out and they smacked them over the head with a hockey stick. There's 1,000 ways they could have done that better, but at the time, and given the location and the context, it wasn't, from their perspective, a terrible thing. It was to everyone else, especially now being cats. So to explain, it wasn't a cat, it was a rat, or several, and the employees were just overrun with them and they were trying to do the best they could at the time. That's what actually happened. What happened from our side is we should have acknowledged that there was a rat infestation. Management should have been aware of it. Something was lacking there. For an employee to get to the point where they're smacking someone over the head with a hockey stick, something's gone wrong. We've now gotten professional fumigators, rat experts, whatever it is, in to sort out the problem. We've also implemented a system for our staff to understand that those kind of things in a corporate retail environment is not really something that we should be doing. There's other ways to deal with it. So don't worry about doing it yourself. We understand you're frustrated. Rather just leave and just say there's a rat and we need to sort it out and get the professionals in. That's the way it should have been handled. That's the way it could have been handled. It wasn't. It doesn't really matter. But that's when an idea of someone doing something that they thought was good, hitting a rat that was infesting a building with customers in it, turned into they are cat killers. Quite a different scenario. So give yourself the time to say, geez, that must be horrific seeing that. We understand it. We're going to find out what the problem was, go through the problem, explain the problem, and then you're good to go. No one minds people being honest and telling the truth. Okay. No one minds anything that you've done, pretty much, unless you're doing kiss cams, I guess. That person's never going to get a job again. But when something goes wrong, just tell the truth. And when you tell the truth, no one minds that you've done that. It's when you hide behind the corporate layers of nonsense that things go horribly wrong. Okay. So the things I want you to take away from this, very, very, very clear, right? Listen. First thing you need to do is listen and show care that you understand and empathize with the person, right? Acknowledge that there's an issue, say we're going to deal with it, and then figure out what the background story might be, okay? And once you figure out what the real story is, you can communicate that story, but you've got to put a plan in place to make sure it doesn't happen again or shouldn't happen again. So if it's a piece of comms that went out, if it was someone retweeting something, if it was someone saying something inappropriate, if it was a malfunction of an item, there are different ways to handle it. But never apportion blame to someone else. Own it and say, we see that this was the thing. What actually happened was there was a weld on a unit from a place and it wasn't up to scratch. We should have checked that because we are the end seller. What we've done is we've made sure that we now have a weld expert or something to check these things. Passing the buck doesn't help. Who does it? That doesn't solve anyone's problem. It feels like you don't care, which you don't. Well, those big corporates don't, and it doesn't help anybody. So just own it. And if you say we found the problem was down the road, now we've put something in place to fix it, isn't that great? People are going to love you for that. And then be present and be clear with your messaging, okay? When you show up and you take ownership of something, you say, yep, you know what? It actually wasn't us, but you're right. We're the end of the line here. We should have made sure that these things happened, and therefore it is us. And this is what we're going to do to solve it, and we take full responsibility. And by the way, we're so sorry that it made you feel that way or this thing happened. Let's do something about that for you. That's a winner, okay? Because we're turning into a mess, as I said in the beginning, into an opportunity for a great message. And if we do that, crisis in this way creates super advocates. When something goes wrong and you get hold of a company, you expect the worst. You expect them to say, no, sorry, how long? Have you got proof? When did this happen? What's the serial number? Who helped you? Okay? When the person on the other end says, oh, we're really sorry. Geez, did that happen? I'm really sorry about that. Wow, that must make you feel terrible. I totally understand that. I don't know the full story. Could you give me some time to come back to you, and I'll come back to you with what went wrong and how we can help solve your problem. That takes the wind out of your sails. There's nothing you can do about that. You go, wow, okay. Geez, I was really angry and now I'm not. They're trying to help. It wasn't what I thought. And even if it is their fault, you change, right? So if you do that from your brand perspective, it's going to be a much, much better way of doing it, right? And when you do that, understand this. Trust is built when things go wrong. When things are going right, we think it's trust. It's not. It's just consistency. When something goes wrong and you put your hand up and say, I've got you. I understand. I'll sort it out. I'll take ownership. That's where real trust, where real connection happens. And if you want customers to value you for the long term, that's the way you build it. Not in the everyday. It's when things go wrong and how you deal with that works a lot better than anything else. So the 5 C's: care, commitment, consistency, coherence, and clarity. 5 things you need to remember when things go wrong to make everything right. That's the end of the podcast today. I hope that was helpful. Hit the like, the comment, the share, the subscribe, whatever you want, whatever's appropriate. And I'll see you back in 2 weeks with another edition. Have an amazing day.